really excited to be here. I'm really excited that you're all here to learn more. Travel and the joy and benefits that it can bring really can be endless. And here at America's Friendliest Airport, our goal is to ensure that we make travel accessible for all. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, about 14% of Americans aged 71 and older have some form of dementia. And we want to be sure that when people are coming through the airport, they have a comfortable travel experience and they have the resources available to them. I'm excited to welcome you here today, and thank you again for taking time out of your day to come learn more about all of the amenities and resources that we offer to travelers and their caregivers with dementia, as well as our other accessibility services. And our team is always looking for ways that we can improve and enhance our experience. So we encourage you to listen, ask questions, and share your feedback. And thank you again for joining us. And at this time, I'd like to play a video from our Mayor Phoenix Gallego, who is a champion of Dementia Friendly Phoenix, and she'd like to say a few words. Unfortunately, she was unable to be here today.
Hi, I'm Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego. I'm pleased to welcome you to Phoenix Sky Harbor's first ever Dementia Friendly Air Travel Workshop. The City of Phoenix is proud to be a Dementia Friendly city, and Sky Harbor International Airport is a Dementia Friendly airport. We recognize that travel results are different for everyone, and the experience can be stressful. That's why we take pride in the work we've done to make the experience at Sky Harbor more comfortable and easier to navigate for those experiencing dementia. Starting in the spring of 2021, our team at Sky Harbor worked to identify respite seating and spaces, train staff, and create programs to better support customers with dementia. Today, we'll hear more about the amazing programs and resources we offer, from the Compassion Cacti Lanyard program to our sensory room and more. Thank you for joining us to learn how Sky Harbor is working to make the travel journey even smoother for you and your loved ones. This is personal for me. My grandmother was diagnosed for dementia, and I often felt like we needed more support. So I hope you'll ask questions, learn, and know that we're there to support you.
I'm here to tee things up and talk a little bit about what it means to travel with dementia through an airport. So I'm a nurse of many years, dementia specialist, and during my many years of working at the Alzheimer's Institute in our clinic, we would sit down with people with a new or ongoing diagnosis of their family member, and we would ask them, what's most important to you? And certainly what popped over and over again, it was about staying connected to the people and the places that they loved. And in order to do that, they were either going to get on an airplane and travel or perhaps drive, or somebody was getting on an airplane to come and see them. And yet we know that travel changes everything for all of us, but particularly the routine and comfort of being at home for the person living with dementia. So as I said, staying connected is really what this is all about, and it's what makes travel so incredibly special for all of us, despite what we're living with. You know, I wrote a book called Travel Well with Dementia, and when I was writing that during my time at Banner and then post-Banner, I had a number of clinicians say to me, really, Jan, do people travel with dementia? And it was like, well, yeah, in my experience in working directly with affected people and their families, they're telling me about all the trips that they're making or they're planning to make, and yet without proper counsel and guidance, often it became stressful and very frustrating. We know that just statistically, the main reason that people travel, it's really about seeing family and friends. It's about taking part of celebrations, and it's about relaxing, about rejuvenating, about learning. And yes, people living with dementia even do learn, right? They learn in the moment. They re-experience places they've been in renewed and important ways. And yes, will they forget about those? They will, but it doesn't take away from the here and now. And again, after a new diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, and by the way, I'm going to use the word dementia, again, broad word, broad categorical word that just says a person is experiencing changes in memory and thinking, and it's affecting daily life. Alzheimer's is the most common type. But after a new diagnosis of dementia in these early stages, and by the way, we're going to see a lot of emphasis about early stage disease, people people want to travel. They want to finally go to that place they've dreamed about. And that means 80% of them are going to get on an airplane and have to make their way through at least 1 or 2 airports. So this becomes really important. So I want to point out, and really what this workshop builds on, is the fact that dementia is a hidden disability. In fact, if I were to ask many of you, do you think of it as a disability? Many of us didn't really think of it that way. In fact, the general public doesn't see it because, right, I look at a person who's got a diagnosis of dementia, they look good, they sound good. In fact, you probably get calls from family who say, I don't know what you're making such a big deal about. They sound just fine, they look just great. What's the big deal? Why are you so stressed about making this trip? Well, they're not with them 24/7, 7 days a week to see, oh, yes, there are some changes. And so because of this, we don't see it as a disability, right? And so I work with families who are hesitant to do early boarding because, after all, what will people think, right? They look normal. So when we look at this picture on the slide, we recognize people in wheelchairs or with walkers or scooters or walking sticks or people with disability, but because we can't see a cognitive disorder doesn't mean that they don't have a disability and need accommodation. And really, this is what it's all about. So without awareness of this, we're going to continue on and people will struggle. Again, this is a global issue. So the things that make traveling with dementia more difficult include things like memory loss, right? So we're talking about short-term memory where people rapidly forget information. So think about that. You know, we talk about sometimes a daughter, and by the way, 50% of people with dementia will never be told they have it. Okay, so if you're never told you have it, you can understand why a daughter drops her mom at the front door of an airport and thinks she'll be able to navigate her way to the airport to meet sister on the other end, right? Because she doesn't understand that mom's going to rapidly forget, where am I going? What airline am I taking? What gate am I taking, right? All of that demands memory, which is changing for a person living with dementia. We also know that early on, people living with dementia have problems with managing time and time concepts. And so when you think about travel, oh man, it is all about time, right? What time are we leaving? How soon do we need to be at the airport? We've got wonderful signs in our airport that tell us how long it's going to take to get through a security checkpoint. All of those things are time relationships that the person living with dementia has often lost or is challenged in remembering. We know this eye-brain connection that really allows us to understand where we are in space and how do we move in space changes with dementia. So our ability to navigate, for example, from our gate to the restroom and back will be greatly challenged with dementia because not only am I rapidly forgetting, I'm also not taking in the landmarks that help me to remember how to get back to the point at which I started. Again, I might be standing way too close to the person in front of me in a security line because I don't understand where my body is in space relative to the person in front of me, right? Those are real changes. And these other sensory perceptions really are challenged as we think about the noises, the shadowing, the lighting, all that can be misinterpreted by a brain that's changing. We know that planning is huge in living our daily life, which is why so many people love to stay home because the comfort and routine of day-to-day doesn't require planning, right? It just requires a rhythm that is well understood. So when we start taking you out of the context and putting you into a travel element, it means that we're going to add a lot of stress for you because you can't anticipate how do I plan for what's up next. And certainly the airport is part of that. The ability to reason and make judgments become difficult. So in the past, I could have sent my husband off to get a magazine or a paper for the news or for the airplane. Now he's forgetting how to manage money or use a credit card, or maybe he's distracted. He walks out of the airport store with something unpaid for, right? Simply because he doesn't have the same understanding as he did within the past. Not that he's suddenly become a thief. This is a change that's happening. And again, just the amount of attention and concentration that we all need to travel is really challenged in people living with a condition affecting memory and thinking. We're paying attention is so much harder. So you can see where it feeds into that rapid forgetting and maybe some growing anxiety. And then finally, just the ability of this person to consider the needs of others. Even you are lost. And so we see people perhaps who are being rude or speaking out of turn when this was never what they were like in the past. And unfortunately, that's become our general public as we look at air travel, isn't it? Which is unfortunate. But it catches us as family caregivers off guard because we know this is not in keeping with this person whatsoever. So here are my points that our colleagues are going to expand upon that I think will help you feel more confident to take on air travel. First of all, keep in mind that everyone is stressed during travel, even the business traveler. So I also wear a purple coat now, which I love being a navigator, on Wednesday mornings. And again, I will tell you that even the business traveler will get harried, right? If connections are running tight, who knows what's going on, weather-related issues, their ride's not going to show at an arrival. Everyone is stressed, and stress does not make our thinking better for any of us. So we're here to distress that. The best thing you can do is plan. You cannot over-plan a trip. This is really important, and we're here from our colleague at American Airlines how important it is to work directly with the airline. You know, we've all been forced, if you will, to online reservations, but that can be challenging to find the accessibility that you want to gather to know that you're traveling with a person with dementia. And I'll let her talk about all the other things that go into early boarding and getting a wheelchair, etc. But one thing I'll tell you is make sure if you are connecting in another airport that you give yourself plenty of time and that you travel during your person's best time of the day. This is not the time to shop for bargain flights. This is the time to find the flights that are going to work for you and your loved one. Dropping off and picking up at an airport, another really important aspect. This is not the time to be parking in East Economy, grabbing the train and going into the terminal. This is about planning ahead with family and friends to have them drop you off at departures and have family and friends or a service pick you up at your arrival place. And again, the reason we're talking about this is the fatigue and the overwhelm that goes with that added time is not serving you well, but is really not serving your loved one well. So again, plan for that in plenty of time. Making sure maybe you need a travel companion to come with you. You might be caring for a person who is very ambulatory and very fast on their feet and could move faster than you and get away from you, right, and get separated. So maybe you need to have an adult child, a grandchild, or even a paid travel companion join you to make sure that your person stays safe and so do you. Again, time. It's all about time. You can't arrive early enough. The most stressed travelers are those who cut it way too short. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I think the power went down at Phoenix Sky Harbor and the kiosks went out for a brief time, and guess what? The planes don't wait, right? They're going. So here you had a bunch of stressed out travelers trying to make their way through the security process. Again, we avoid that by, you just never know. This morning there was an accident on the 202 as I was driving here, right? We have to plan to get into our place. And again, this is about you and managing your stress levels. And then finally, we're going to hear about how TSA can be so ever helpful in helping us to get through the security process. You're going to hear about our website, but I would tell you, not only should you be looking at the departure website, you should be looking at connecting and arrival airports. In particular, I want you to pay attention to family restrooms. So when we read about people living with dementia getting separated from their care partner, it's typically a bathroom-related incident, right? I need to go, he needs to go. In fact, I might even find a nice fellow passenger and I say, hey, will you stay with my husband while I run in and use the ladies' room? Except my husband doesn't know him, and while he's trying to say, hey, stay with me, I'm thinking, who the heck are you? Right, and here I go. So family restrooms are huge, and so are quiet areas, okay? And you're going to hear about that. And then I would say along with security, you know what, take your time. You're carrying the documents, I hope, for you and your person. Again, if it's important for them to have documents, give them copies. You have the original. And when you're done with security, please take your time to collect your stuff. I don't care if people are in a hurry. You're not. You're planning for it. We're managing your stress. Which is on the top of this, take care of you. So if we don't have you prepared to go, if you can't manage your emotions, let me tell you what's going to happen. Your person is going to marry your emotions and then some. So if you're anxious, they're even more anxious. If you're frustrated, they're more frustrated. If you're agitated, they're agitated. Does that make sense? So the more we can keep you calm and a smile on your face, the better your person will do. We're going to ask you for tremendous patience. Actually, we all need patience when we travel, right? Just things happen that are completely out of our control. So when you respond in a very calm and pleasant way, the person will. And guess what? Our travel vendors do too. When we smile at them and we're polite. Isn't that amazing how human behavior works? And then we want to just expect, we're going to get a lot of questions, and we're going to get them over and over again. Where are we going? What flight are we taking? How long are we going to go for? Who are we going to meet there anyways? I mean, who's going to be picking us up, right? A lot of anxiety on this details that you've told them, but they rapidly forget. So I recommend you fill out an index card or a sheet of paper, and you just write what it is they can handle. So some people can handle specifics. Other people do better with generalities. We're flying out this morning. We're going to Milwaukee. We're visiting our children. We'll be gone for a few days. Our son is picking us up. So when they ask you for the 20th time, where are we going and who's good, all that, you just say, here's your index card. I wrote this for you. It's a much more dignified way to manage that. And never leave your person unattended. The separation factor and the unfamiliarity of an airport is just incredibly challenging. So it goes without saying that if for some reason you need to, you're going to have to think about that. And this is where some of the extra people like our navigators can really be helpful. Again, let other people know how they can help. And one of the things I provided on the table is what we call companion cards. And if you're from any of our memory centers, I think you probably have a bunch of these. But it just says, I'm traveling with a person with memory and thinking problems, and your patience is appreciated. So if your person is rude at a restaurant, or they're getting frustrated in line, in security, is something you can handle to the passenger in front or back of you. And once people see this, look, we all know somebody affected by dementia. They get it, and they de-stress. On the back, it also gives tips on how they can be helpful to communicate with your loved one as well. Again, I would say really communicate with people, letting them know how they can help before, during, and after. That means in family members. Let them know what they can expect and how they can be helpful to you so they can be helpful for their loved one. Because remember, they don't live this 24/7. And it's not that they don't care, it's just they don't get it. And so the more we can help them get it, the better they'll do in helping you and subsequently helping your loved one. And then I would say keep that smile on your face, because here's the thing. If you keep smiling, your brain will follow. Your brain follows what your body does. And that smile is going to really carry you a long way, even when things run amok. And things run amok in travel. It just does. So is travel really possible? And I say absolutely yes. But it does require a lot of careful planning on your part and maybe other travel partners who are joining you. It means that you create realistic expectations for what this trip is going to mean for you and for your family members. It means that you be flexible. Boy, if you're not flexible, you should never travel, right? I think we all agree to that. And finally, it's asking for and accepting help along the way that we need. That's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Finally, I'm happy to make these slides available, but these are some of my favorite websites, which I know you can probably quickly take a picture of, from how can you find products for activities, to incontinence. You might be traveling with someone who does have some bladder control issues, and there are some amazing products that allow for dignity, allow for a fair amount of leakage, if you will, that will keep your person comfortable, right? Because sometimes you can't get up to use a lavatory, it's a rocky flight or whatever that might be. There's some wonderful travel-related resources, and then a lot of safety products, right? If you're staying in a hotel room, that if you're out cold and boy, they try to get out of the room, well, how can you keep your hotel safe? to a lot of wonderful GPS technology. The latest, I'll tell you, is this wallet card called McCulough. It's like 35 bucks. It looks like a credit card. You can slip it into a purse, a pocket, a wallet, and you're now tracking your person for about 35 bucks. So there's some really nice things along. And I'm selling my book, if anybody's interested, called Travel Well with Dementia at the end, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end. But thank you for being here, and I know at the end of this you are going to feel confident to take that trip that you long to see people or places that you love.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Misty Cisnero-Contreras, and I am the Customer Service Superintendent here at Sky Harbor Airport. And I would like to focus on some of the amenities that we offer here at Sky Harbor that we want to point out. If you are sticking around for the tour after the workshop today, we'll also identify where those locations are. First, I want to talk about our Navigator program. I know that it was referenced already. For those that are not familiar, we have a very robust Navigator volunteer program. Our volunteers volunteer a minimum of 4 hours every week. They apply, they train, and there's ongoing training. These folks are our eyes and our ears and on the concourses, and they are here to help you. That is their sole purpose. I always say, if you can do this, which everyone in this room can do, so you're all qualified to join us to be a Navigator volunteer. But these folks, they wear the purple so it stands out. If you are in need of any assistance, if you have any questions, whether it be where's the nearest family restroom, where's the nearest burger, where's the nearest beer, or the number one question we get, I'm sure everybody's shocked when I say this, where's the nearest Starbucks? They can tell you. That is their sole purpose for being here. We have a number of navigator programs. We have our customer service navigators, and those are the folks, you'll meet some of them. Actually, we have a few of them in the back. We're excited that they're here for us today, and in the front that will be helping to lead our tour. We have our navigator buddies, which I'll talk about in a moment. Our navigator chaplains, those are volunteers who, if you seek any sort of spiritual assistance that you need, or just need to talk to somebody and reflect, we can get you in touch with a navigator chaplain on site. We also have team navigators, and then our navigator support guides. All of our volunteers are super friendly. They're assisting all terminals, and there are extra eyes and ears. So they all carry cell phones. If they don't know the answer, they have quick and easy access to get the answer for you. Our Navigator Buddies, this is our Navigator Buddy Pet Therapy Program. We just recently celebrated our 5-year anniversary. We have a number of dogs who work in the terminals, and their purpose for being here is to be petted. We recognize that a lot of people travel for different reasons, and there may be stress that comes along with that travel, and our dogs are here just to make you smile. You are welcome to pet them, get down on the ground, roll around with them. We do see customers do that all the time. And they're just, you probably met Abby. She was here a little bit earlier today. We have over 30 different buddies, different than our navigators, that are customer service navigators. They work here 2 hours each week. Very, very popular, probably the most popular that we highlight on social media. Everybody loves a dog, and they come in all different shapes and sizes, and they wear fun costumes, and they also wear purple. So if you have not caught on, the color for customer service at Sky Harbor is purple. Whether you're wearing purple and you knew it or not, but that's what we identify as customer service. We also have a Compassion Corner. Our Compassion Corner is located in Terminal 4 on level 3 of the east end, and this is a space, it's got 3 different spaces. Our chapel, which is all faiths, everyone is welcome. It's a very quiet space in there. You can go in there. There's also some seating in there where you can go with your loved one and just relax, get out of the hustle and bustle of the airport. This is pre-security. So when you're utilizing the space, just keep that in mind, that you'll need to allow enough time to get through security. Also, we have our sensory room, which I'll show on the next slide, our Compassion Cacti Lanyard program. Everybody who's joining us here today received a free lanyard. That is our Compassion Cacti lanyard. What that is identifying you as having a hidden disability. So anyone can go on our website and request one of these, or when they travel or somebody they're traveling with can wear this. Now, the lanyard is to identify to employees that this person recognizes or identifies himself as having a hidden disability, which means our airport employees should see that and know, okay, this person, I may need to give them a little bit more compassion, I may need to explain things differently or repeat myself more than usual. Now, this isn't going to bypass any lines. Kevin will tell you it won't get you through the checkpoint any faster or anything like that. This is simply an identifier for you to wear. There are other airports, some utilize something called the sunflower lanyard. We also recognize that here at Sky Harbor Airport. It's similar in that it's also green, so if you see other people wearing this lanyard, now you know what that means. Now, is it a perfect system? No. We have over 8,000 employees at Sky Harbor, and it's our job to continue to train and remind our employees that that's what this means. But we are always working on it, looking at ways to get the word out about this. It is completely free when you apply. We don't ask any questions. We don't ask for any medical records. If you tell us you want a lanyard, we are happy to provide you one for free, and you can pick it up in our Compassion Corner. When you apply for a Compassion Cacti lanyard, you can also request the support of a navigator support guide. Again, these are navigators who volunteer with us. They will meet you at your time of arrival at Sky Harbor, and they will guide you all the way until you get on your plane. They will show you where the nearest restrooms are. They will take you to the best checkpoint to get through. They will point out any questions. They'll have the answers, airport related. They'll even sit with you at your gate until you depart. Likewise, if you are flying in or somebody that you know is flying in, we can request to have a navigator support guide waiting at the gate and help guide them all the way through out of security to meet their party. But you will only see this on our website, and in a moment or at the end, we will talk about where to find it on our website. But you will only be able to see how to access a navigator support guide if you apply for a lanyard. This is not a VIP concierge service, somebody thinks they're a rock star or they want to send their kids through. This isn't that sort of service. This is an additional benefit that we want to offer to this group that needs that special attention. And we really feel that this provides a little bit of relief for the caregiver when they're traveling. So the caregivers handling the bags and focusing on everything else. So this is just an added layer of help for them. And again, in the Compassion Corner, you can receive navigator chaplain support. A couple of photos of the inside of the Compassion Corner. To the left, some designated seating where you can go and relax. None of the announcements. Our airport is fabulous, and we have a lot of overhead announcements. In fact, one of our overhead announcements actually says, I believe it's every 15 minutes where the Compassion Corner is located. But you can go in there and quiet prayer or meditation, reflection. We don't allow any electronics in the space. And so there's no sound, it's completely quiet. To the right is our sensory room, and you will notice on the right-hand side of the photo there, you can go in and actually feel what it's like to get on an airplane. Those are seats from the Southwest plane, a little mural of what it looks like to get on a plane, and just get familiar with putting on the seat belts and getting really comfortable with getting on a plane. In addition to these two spaces, there is an office in our Compassion Corner that is staffed. If you have any questions, if you need to pick up a lanyard, our staff is there to help you. These are the signs that we have kind of in hidden areas for employees only, where we're constantly promoting the Compassion Cacti lanyard. You may see some of these, but these are mostly for employees, but this is how we market internally to employees, saying, hey, you see this? Remember, extra assistance, extra time, extra kindness. And front and center is our Compassion Cacti lanyard, and at the bottom, we're also pointing out that we also want to recognize the sunflower lanyard as well. Before I move on to my colleague Ira, I also wanted to point out that Sky Harbor also has 10 information counters across the campus. So if you arrive and you ask someone who is maybe not familiar with the program, maybe they're new, again, Sky Harbor has over 8,000 employees here that work for different entities. If they're not familiar with one of our little programs, go to an information counter. Those folks are groomed and trained, and it is their responsibility to be able to help and answer these questions and guide you, just like the navigators. We always have our information counters staffed from approximately 5 a.m. to midnight, as well as our navigators on site between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. every day except Saturday evening. Okay. At the end, again, we will have Q&A, and I'd like to pass it over to my colleague, Ira. Excuse me.
Good morning, and it's great to see a lot of folks here this morning. It's really good to not only do this outreach and inform people about all the great stuff we have here at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, but it's also good to see that there's people who have been in the same boat, caregivers, people with dementia. So I do thank you for being proactive and learning a little bit about our campus here. So my role within the department is to ensure that we are conforming and complying to a lot of the civil rights laws. And first and foremost amongst those laws is the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And in essence, it's a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. The federal government, through the ADA, outlines minimum standards of compliance, and we here at the airport believe we should go above and beyond that. So that's why we have all these great amenities. That's why we're having these workshops, so that we are accountable to you as caregivers, folks with disabilities, but also as taxpayers and customers and users of the system. So my approach to today's presentation is really kind of expanding upon all the amenities, but really focusing on some good rules of thumb to kind of follow as you're kind of progressing through your journey, be it all the way from Tucson to international flights and all points in between. So I do want to emphasize a couple of things as far as what Jan really talked about. It's really that preparation is really key, and you being here really goes a long way in promoting that. I really, when people call me with questions as far as amenities, where do I go, I always emphasize do your preparation. And guess what? The airport's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you want to do a dry run, feel free to do that, walk around, get a feel of the environment, kind of get to know those landmarks that Jan talked about as far as here's where we need to go, here's the gate, that sort of thing. On the screen there I have a link to a PDF, which is the memory travel kit, which really outlines a lot of the stuff that Jan emphasizes. A great kind of print it out, put it in your pocket, and have it with you as you travel with that. And I think the next slide, I think we're working on that there. The next slide is just a screenshot of what that looks like. It also includes a lot of the links and just quick hits of information. As we're traveling, you need to have that information instantaneously. So downloading on your iPad, your phone, or printing that out really goes a long way. One of the large questions, or bigger questions I get as the ADA coordinator for the airport is that people being proactive and asking what can they do to prepare. And I really emphasize that it really begins with booking. And so I always ask them, have you booked your ticket yet? And if you haven't, here's some good things to really think about. There's good times, there's bad times for each and all of us. So if you're a caregiver, really identifying the best times for your person to fly. Also think about seating. Is it an aisle seat? Is it a window seat? How far are you away from the restroom and facilities? Not only are we talking about the plane, but also the gate and where you're at Sky Harbor. So if you ever need some information about that, we have great resources on our website, skyharbor.com. Great interactive maps where you can find out where the nearest family unisex restrooms are at, where's the Starbucks? Of course, for me, where's Fazoli's going to be when they open here? Where are these amenities so that you don't have that far to go and not actually think about, so that way it's kind of automatic. So those are some good things to think about with that. Also, I just think I would expand what Jan emphasized, having a way to track. It's a very large campus. If you've been to Terminal 4, I think it's probably a mile from one end to the other. There's a lot there. So having the ability to track folks, if you're open to it, obviously there's the air tags, the $30 solution that Jan talked about. You just be prepared and going forward and knowing where those amenities are.
Can I just insert one thing real quick? I recommend on the day you travel, everybody's got a smartphone nowadays, take a picture of your loved one in the event you get separated. I saw my husband this morning, I cannot tell you what he was wearing on the way out the door, okay, because we're not paying attention. Take a picture of your loved one, so if you do get separated and you go to security and say, hey, I lost, my husband walked away from me, they can identify. I just wanted to throw that in real quick before I forget.
And that's a very good point. And the good part about Sky Harbor is that we do have a lot of those landmarks. We have a great art collection at the airport, so I always kind of figure I still get lost. I've been working at the airport for a year and a half. I'm surprised I haven't been arrested for going the wrong way on Sky Harbor Boulevard. But when I'm driving, when I'm walking, I'm always looking for artifacts, if you will, landmarks. So with our great art program here, we have very distinctive, very great art projects. So I always associate that. Where am I? Okay. And they're constantly changing, and I do encourage you as you go through those tours, identifying those landmarks, whatever they may be. It might not even be art. It might be the Fazoli's I'm talking about. It might be the Starbucks or what have you. But in addition to all the other stuff we have, I do really want to emphasize, obviously, that the navigators are always there, and the compassion corner and the lanyards. But we also have some great things as far as visual interpreting. And even though IRA, which is our visual interpreting service, is primarily used for people who are blind or low vision, everybody can use this service. It's free of cost when you're on the campus. It's an app that you can download to your Apple, Android phone. In essence, it's using the camera on your phone to really navigate the area where you're at. This is a service that we've had for the past year, and I can tell you, I use it. People who are sighted, people who do not identify with having a disability use that because it's a great wayfinding tool. And if you need any assistance or help, I think my phone number or email is on the last slide here. But we have a lot of great things here to really help you out in your journey. As far as people arriving, really knowing where their gate's at, baggage claim, if you've ever been at baggage claim and you have a rush of different airplanes, it can get really hectic. And all those baggage claims are located on the first levels of both of our terminals. But there's really a critical thing is identifying those landmarks at baggage claim. There's overhead announcements, there's visual announcements that associate an incoming flight with a certain carousel. So that is definitely helpful, but it can be very overwhelming, especially when we're pretty crowded. One good thing, I was actually speaking with somebody who had questions about some of our amenities, and we kept on missing each other as far as times are concerned. And so that really prompted me to be aware of the time zone changes. So if you do have a person arriving from a different time zone, making sure that you're giving them both times, because not everybody will set their watch. Their phones might not update automatically. They may look down like, oh shoot, I'm 2 hours late or 3 hours late. So just a kind of thing to keep in mind with that. There's my contact information, email and phone number. But in addition to getting questions from you, I really want to hear from you all. What are some amenities? What's working? What's not working? What are you seeing at different airports that really helped you and the person you're caring for, or you just in general? We want to hear about that. We're always in a state of constant improvement, And even though I am the official ADA compliance coordinator, I want to go above and beyond because we all have to use the airport. We enjoy coming to the airport, most of us. There might be some people shaking their heads, but it connects us to the outside world at the end of the day. So as the front door and the last thing that people see when they leave Phoenix, we really want to have a great impression, but also step our game up at the end of the day. So any feedback you have whatsoever, feel free to drop me a line. So thank you.
This looks much like me. You mind if I come out here and get away from the desk a little bit? I just like to move around a little bit and talk to you all. I'm Kevin Schutzenhofer. I don't know, it's kind of a little blurry there. I actually look just like this. Notice that. Make sure I get the right one. Up, wrong way. These are all the airports that we're at, TSA, in the state of Arizona. So you have an idea that at every airport in Arizona that has passenger service, you're going to have a TSA person, TSA agent that's going to be there. Everything that I'm going to talk about applies to any one of these airports, okay? TSA Cares, what it does, and the reason why I want to talk about TSA Cares is because it's for a lot of things. It's not just for helping folks with dementia, it's for wounded warriors, it's for people that have any medical or disability or anything they need, people that are afraid to fly, anything that they might be a little bit concerned about coming to the checkpoint. This is what you're going to do. You're going to give a call to 1-855-787-2227, and I've got a bunch of these cards here that you can take with you if you'd like, and I'll leave them up here, right here on the corner, and you can come get them afterwards. And if you call that number 72 hours before your flight, that's best. If it's not 72 hours, we can work with it. And give all the information to the person on the phone when you're traveling, your flights, maybe what the challenges you may have, any little things that are helpful is good. More information, the better. What they do nationally is they reach out to our coordination center and our folks, and we have passenger support specialists. These are TSA officers that are specially trained and volunteer to help people. They're the helpers. They eat it up. Anytime they get somebody on their screen, when they check their emails, that they're going to have as passenger to help, they love it. Think about your day as a TSA officer. You're working and you're screening all these people, but now you've got somebody that you can go help personally. Walk away, spend their time with them, see what they need. That passenger support specialist will then reach out to you with the contact information and talk to you about when you're flying, what you will need, where you want to meet. Most folks meet at the front of the checkpoint or wherever. Then they'll get you and they'll say, okay, we're going to go through screening. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to go. Is there anything we need to know? You discuss it with the passenger support person, and they walk you through the screening process. They're communicating with the TSA officer. They're communicating with you. They're slowing the thing down. It doesn't take any longer, but they're slowing this thing down so they know what you need. They'll take care of you to the end of the security, and then if you need additional help, if you're stuck and you just don't know where to go, once again, these people love to do this. I can't say it enough because I meet with them all the time. They love to go help people. So if they need to walk you down your flight and stay with you for a little bit, they're going to do it. Nobody is going to drop you and just let you go on your way if you don't need it. But it's a huge resource, and TSA is really proud of it, and locally we're really proud of it. And I'm personally proud of all these folks. This airport community, I've been with TSA for 21 years, since the beginning. And I can tell you that Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, and I've been to a bunch of airports, the airport community is probably the most caring group of people that I've been involved with. Constantly we're looking for better ways to help people get through, people with special needs, people with that need additional help. We have in the background meetings and calls and talks and brainstorming on finding ways to make people happier. This is America's friendliest airport, and our officers know that, and I know that on a daily basis. I'm the stakeholder manager. I work with all these folks. So when you're traveling, please understand that there's hundreds and hundreds of people at the airport every day that are wanting to help you. You sometimes just have to ask. If you ever come up to a TSA checkpoint and everything's busy, and everything's packed, and maybe you need a little extra help because you're a caregiver, or maybe you're just a little confused, slow it down, ask an officer if you could see a supervisor or a manager. They're happy to get that. They communicate right to them all the time. And that supervisor can come out, or manager can come out and spend a few minutes with you and talk to you and find out what your special need is or what you might need help with. We have immigrants that come through the airport daily, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. They speak languages we don't even know. TSA doesn't even know their language. But they work with them every day, and we get them through screening, and we get them through safely. Because ultimately, we're here for your safety and security. We want you and your loved ones to get on that airplane and feel that you're safe. There's not things on that plane that could be a major problem. We have air marshals on the flights. We have security around. We work with the airport security and police officers. We want to make sure that when you get on there, you feel so good about being safe and secure that it kind of makes it simpler for somebody, especially if you're a caregiver or if you've got some special need that we can help you with. Never forget, when we look busy and the airport looks busy, the people are willing to help. You just have to slow them down just a second because they're just going on and on and on. But one thing I want you to do is make sure that this TSA Cares program is at the top of your list because it's special, it's great, and we've got these little cards here I can give you. We're getting new screening equipment all the time. Things are getting more automated, less touchy-feely. The goal in the future is everything's going to stay in your bags. All your shoes are going to stay on. We're even going to go back, don't say this anywhere else. Can we trust these people? I think we can trust you, right? We're looking for a situation where we can get back to the regular size shampoos. Okay? Now, okay? Just saying. I like my hair to be bouncing and big. I just don't want it one way. No, but you want to get back to that, and that's the goal of the new technology. And probably within the next few years, you're going to start to see more and more of the new technology come into the screening environment. As you can see already, we have some of these. You can put your ID on an iPhone, and you can walk up. It'll show a picture of you, and you go through. That kind of thing, too, where people aren't touching and constantly grabbing. Because when you go to the airport, if you're anything like me, when I go to the airport, it's literally like this. It's literally, I live at the checkpoints, I see it all the time. I don't know where anything is in my pockets. I don't know where my tickets are. I don't know, are they on the phone? Can I get to the phone site? Can I get this? Do I have my bag? Where's my stuff? Where's the rental car? Do we have this stuff? It gets so confusing. What's recommended earlier, slow things down. Slow it down. If you need help, ask for help. TSA's there. Our navigators, amazing. Purple jackets, amazing. The dogs, I even ask the dogs questions sometimes because I don't know where I'm going. But you want to go to these people because these things are all for you. They're all for our people. How many are from, have any lived out in the Phoenix area for more than 5 years? Okay. Sky Harbor is a point of pride. In my opinion, it's a point of pride. We're proud of our airport. We're proud of our community. We're proud when people come in and visit. We're proud when they see those mountains. We're proud to be here. Except when it's 115. But it really means a lot to us. And our officers, many of our TSA officers have been here 15 to 20 years. Many. You know, we got lots of new ones. Some people are retired, but we've got a lot of officers that have been here. A lot of first responders that have retired that became officers. A lot of military that retired that became officers. A lot of EMTs that retired that became TSA officers. These people are out there, they're working hard, but they're there to help you. They're there to keep you safe. And that's the #1 goal. Helping you is also extremely important. So please utilize the TSA Cares program. This really will help you. And please utilize everything that the airport is offering, because as I said before, I love this place. It means a lot to us. And you can always reach out to us. Another good site to go to is tsa.gov, tsa.gov. Just go to that site, and it's got more information about all these customer service programs that we have. And remember, it's not just here with TSA Cares, it's whatever airport you're flying in and out of. So you give them that information, and they'll pass that on to either the coming back from where you're going, or if you have a transfer, and maybe there's a situation there as well. I'll also be available for some questions at the end, but I want to thank you all, because without you folks and caring about flying out of this airport, I don't know what I'd be doing for a living. I don't know if I have a job, but I have a job, and I love it, and every day seeing the faces, the navigators, y'all, it means the world, because I remember what the day after 9/11 looked like, because I was here, and it didn't look good. So we're never going to have that again, but we're going to do it because we have a good community, people that care, and we're going to keep everybody flying and keep everybody happy. Sound good? Thank you for your time. I might have had some more slides. I don't even know. Let me look. There it is. There's my contact information. If you want to take a picture of it, I'm always available, literally. So if you need it, you just either send me a text or go to Schutzenhofer.tsa.gov, send me an email, say, hey, how's it going? I always love looking at emails because I get them on the phone. Okay? Thank you. And do we have?
Unfortunately, Gina wasn't able to join us today from American Airlines, so we will continue on with ABM.
Can I make a few comments about airports or airlines?
Absolutely.
So I do want to talk about this because it's huge. As I said earlier, most of us have been forced into an online portal to make reservations, and that can be very difficult. Airlines all vary in terms of how you can even find accessibility. So some will have a sub-tab that'll say accessibility, some will say disability, some will say special needs. Again, most in the dementia field don't think about dementia as a disability. So again, if you're going to book online, certainly you can do that, but again, with our low-cost carriers, we're forced to an online. You're never going to probably find a human being to talk to. So really look for those accessibility. And why is that important? Because most people don't know you need to book your wheelchair through your airline, right? They're the ones that are accountable, and they're great in terms of are you going to get it there versus you're just going to show up and you're going to hear about that. But this is where you're going to get your ability to order a wheelchair right up front. Again, because this is a disability, and you've already heard about ADA requirements, that you are entitled to early boarding. And again, many of the folks I've worked with over the years never thought that they would qualify for early boarding, or why do I need a wheelchair when a person is ambulatory? Well, because it's a way of keeping control, right? Slowing them down so that they don't get away from you. That's why we're talking about wheelchairs. Again, you are entitled, again, for our low-cost carriers, to early boarding. Well, you're not going to get the great seats that you want if you're queued up in the C line. You get my drift. So we need you early boarding so we can have you seated with your person. Again, as you're working with American, United, Delta, they know as a caregiver that you're entitled to be sitting directly with your person. I will tell you on the airlines, I highly recommend the person living with dementia be at the window unless that there are continence issues and we really need to be looking at getting to them to the lavatory in flight. What we want to avoid is people walking over them. So if anything, you be at the aisle and the person be in the middle, if that makes sense. Again, it's all about kind of controlling the stimuli that's taking place. I would say to the person sitting next to me, I'd kindly give them this card to let them know that the person next to them, or even maybe front and behind, is traveling with dementia. If you know that they're prone to anxiety or maybe some different kinds of behavioral expressions that the public is not used to. The other reason you want to let the airline know you're traveling with a disability is really helpful for the flight crew. I mean, I've talked to a lot of flight attendants who are amazing, and they want to know how they can help. So if they know that they have someone flying, or a couple people flying that are with a disability, and by the way, they're not going to ask you what's a disability and give you your medical records, right? That is not what ever will happen. But if they know that this is a customer who is on their flight, who has some additional special needs, that's really helpful for them to be able to attend to your need. And then I would tell you, as you're booking, just because it's a legitimate connection of 45 minutes doesn't mean you should take it. So weather happens, mechanical issues, flight delays, and remember, that's going to compress 45 minutes. If you fly through Atlanta, good luck. If you fly through Denver, good luck in making a connection. If you're stressed, again, these connections, tight connections, create tremendous stress. As you're booking, really be thinking about connection. I would not make a trip with probably less than an hour to ideally an hour and a half. I'd rather have too much time than not enough time. So again, if you're booking on your own and you're look at connection times really, really carefully and ask yourself, can I make that? You know, we used to recommend in this field that you fly Tuesday or Wednesday or midday, but I'll tell you Tuesday, Wednesday, midday, it's like Monday morning, quite honestly. Airports are busy, they're really crowded. So the most important thing is booking during your person's best time of the day. I have a very good friend who traveled with mom who was having changes in her sleep-wake cycle. She didn't go to sleep till 2 a.m. They booked a 7 a.m. flight out. Well, guess what? They couldn't get her off. They missed their 7 a.m. flight. The other thing to think about is should you upgrade? Should you go business class? You know, for many people, quite honestly, there's a time when we're all going to stop traveling, right? Let's just, regardless of what it is, at some point we no longer travel. If this is going to be your last trip, make it be your last trip and enjoy yourselves. You worked hard. If you can afford to upgrade into business class or even premium economy, it gives you added space and additional service. This is the time to think about doing it. It's not being selfish. It's about keeping you and your person comfortable. So those would be my comments to airlines. I believe they really do want to help, but they also need to be informed, and they're not informed unless we help them be informed. Okay, so just some comments around the airlines, because we're all going to have to get on one. Okay.
Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I'm Julie Winn, and I work with Southwest Airlines as a contractor with them. So we assist anybody who needs any special request. So that could be somebody who needs any type of wheelchair request. And so what we like to do is when someone arrives to the airport, that if their family can let either the Skypack know or the ticket agent know what the request is, so that they can bring them over to our podium on our level 2 podium and introduce them to the lead and let them know what the request is. And oftentimes we'll ask if the family member wants to travel with them, and that will help them through the process. So just so you know, we have so many special requests a day. We have about 1,200 passengers that we're assisting in a day. If we don't know what the requests are, it makes it a little difficult. So the more information you can give us, and the record makes it easier also. So when the arriving flights are coming in, our dispatcher will know what the requests are, how many wheelchair passengers, how many sighted passengers, whatever those requests are, and they can let our employees know to help the passenger get from the gate down to baggage claim and out to wherever they're going, if it's ground transportation or not. The call I do not like to get is there's a passenger with dementia and we don't know where they're at. And so if we're not aware of it ahead of time, we don't know, because sometimes the passenger tells us, just drop us at door such and such, my family's coming to meet me. And when we do that, we don't know any different, we'll leave them, we'll walk away, and now we lost the passenger. Or sometimes they'll say, well, I just need to catch a cab. And we don't know any different. We'll take them to the cab station, and now their family member is calling and they're frantic because we don't know what happened to them. So the more information that we have ahead of time makes our job a lot easier. And just want to say also, because navigating through the airport, we'll take them to the restroom, we'll take them to get something to eat if we need to, but we really encourage family to travel with them. Just help them through TSA. Again, if we know this, then we can alert the TSA officer and say, this person's going to need a little extra time, just so we can work with them. I mean, we might take them to a different security that's not as busy. So just to give them a little slower experience, so it's a little quieter there. I think that's about all I have.
Can you just comment or explain about making a reservation with you? When's the best time to do that and how to do that?
Yes. The better if you make it with the airline, yes, that's great. But we do have passengers and family members who do come out and want to walk through the experience and see what that's like. But if you can make the request in the reservations, that is the best that we can do. Because when we get the boarding pass, we can look at our boarding pass and see if somebody needs special assistance. That's listed on there as well. So that'll be key to our employees, what it is, what kind of assistance that they're going to need. So that's one of the good things. If we can get a paper boarding pass versus a boarding pass that's just on the phone, sometimes somebody will find out that we have to mention, we'll ask them where their boarding pass is, and all they have is a phone to show us. And so now we're trying to figure out what's their password to get on the phone, where are they going, what's their name. So, it's a little bit of a process, but if they have a boarding pass, and even if they don't know it's in their pocket, we can ask them, why don't you look in your pocket? They can bring out the boarding pass and show us what it is. We know exactly where to go and where to help them.
Okay, we've talked a lot about different resources and amenities, and at this time, what we're going to do is Heather is going to actually guide us through skyharbor.com, so that way it's easier for you when you're at home and you're trying to access all of the different programs that we were talking about.
Thank you, Misty. So as others have mentioned, skyharbor.com is an excellent resource and should be your first resource for all airport information. We have a variety of information, from information on special needs to how to plan your trip, etc. on our website. Skyharbor.com. This is the desktop version, but our website is mobile friendly. It was actually designed to be mobile first, so you can pull it up on your phone and you're going to get the exact same information. At the top right, Rachel, if you'll go up to the top right in the middle, there's a symbol right there with the wheelchair. That's our accessibility page. And so this is what you want to go to as you're planning your trip, to kind of look at all of the resources that we have available. And you'll see the list of things that we have at each terminal. You'll find a link to frequently asked questions. And if you'll scroll down, you'll also see all of the services and amenities. It'll go over how to get a wheelchair. It'll go over other services, oxygen assistance, animals. Keep scrolling down, please, Rachel. You'll find information here which is important. All the information that was previously covered about accessible restrooms with caregiver access, passenger paging, the sensory room, accessible parking. All of that information is on this page. We have additional information about transportation. And then at the very bottom, information and links to the TSA Cares program that Kevin described. And so this page is really the resource for as you're planning your travel to understand all of the different options that we have available to you. And then Rachel, if you please go back to the home page. And as you scroll down on our home page, once you're getting closer to travel, you'll see our security wait times right here. So you'll know what it's like when what you can expect to wait in the security checkpoint line. And you'll also see, if you don't have pre-check, there's a service that we offer called Phoenix Reserve. It says that button right there, reserve a time. And this is an option for travelers of any airline. It's available for certain times a day. You can make a reservation for free up to 6 days in advance. so that you'll know if you have a 9 a.m. flight and you want to get in the security checkpoint line at 7:15, you can make a reservation and go into a designated security checkpoint line. This will help you manage your travel a little bit better so that you know that if you approach the checkpoint at your time, that you're not going to wait in a much longer line. It's still the standard security screening process. If you have pre-check, you wouldn't use it, but it helps give like that moment of calmness when you see a really long line and knowing that you don't have to wait in that really long line, you can get into a shorter line. We also have, just above that is our flight status. So before you come to the airport, of course, we always recommend that you check your flight status just to make sure that there's not a delay or a cancellation as you bring your person to the airport. What you don't want to do is leave for the airport and realize your flight was canceled when you do. So just check before you leave. And then we also have information, if you'll continue to scroll down on the home page, just how to navigate through the airport. It provides lists of the food and drink, the shops, the different services. And then Rachel, can you click on that services icon, please? Or, that's fine too, yeah. And so here is a list of all the various services, and one of the ones I wanted to point out is the Compassion Corner. And on this page, it gives information about the Compassion Corner, about the sensory room, about the chapel, as well as how to request that Compassion Cacti lanyard. There's a link there, there's more information. It also can help you get the navigator guide that Misty mentioned as well. And then one other thing, Rachel, if you can go back to the home page. Actually, just click on your flights. Right, yeah, my mouse doesn't work. It's okay. And then click on passenger airlines. There's scroll over. And so this has, as you're planning your travel, links to all of the airlines' websites, their phone numbers. If you have any issues, lost bags, lost and found, etc., we have a handy list for you to use. And then, as Jan mentioned, it's always important not only to visit our website, but to visit the websites of the airports at your connecting airport, as well as your final destination, just so that you're familiar and have all of the information you need to more easily plan your journey. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to open up the floor for questions. I'm sure please feel free, and I'll come around with the microphone. And panel, just feel free to chime in.
Since we received the lanyard today, do we still need to go online to register to make it official with the name and so
That's a great question. You got your lanyards today, so you do not need to do that. We will take all of the contact information when you apply to register, and we'll keep that. Okay, next.
We're flying to Canada. Is there a TSA in Canada? We have to go through customs? This is our first trip, and I am a nurse.
Yeah, you go through customs in Canada when you get there, just like when you come to the United States. Also, there isn't a TSA in Canada, but there's a version of TSA in Canada. It's very similar. You won't find it to be out of the ordinary. It'll look pretty much the same as when you come here. So you shouldn't have any difficulties. I've flown in and out of Canada several times. Very nice. They take care of you very well.
Thank you.
To what degree will other airports recognize this green lanyard?
So the Compassion Cacti lanyard is unique to Phoenix Sky Harbor. However, the Sunflower lanyard is recognized at some other airports, as well as some other airports have their own lanyard. So when you're doing your research of where you're traveling through, let's say you're traveling through DFW or SeaTac, they all have either their own form of a lanyard that they offer for free, or they use the Sunflower lanyard. You can use it over and over again for free. Oh, thank you. So you see it looks very similar with the green, it just has the sunflower on it. Ours is unique with the cactus on it to our home state.
So there are about 26 airports now using the Sunflower lanyard, and I will tell you it's being used widely throughout Europe. So if you're traveling there, in fact, they were the leaders in developing this lanyard to recognize hidden disability. So there are actually stores in Europe that if you go in with the lanyard, they recognize your person with a hidden disability. So in addition to wearing it, so I would say if you're willing to do your job, to educate partners about, by the way, you know, and you can make it yourself. I'm wearing this lanyard, it means traveling with a person with a disability. Are you aware of it? I think it's slowly catching on, and certainly Sky Harbor has been a leader in this. And I will tell you, if you're flying to other places, you can just go to the Hidden Disabilities website and you can order a lanyard to wear as well. So it is accessible for other people not at Phoenix Sky Harbor. I'm so glad we got our Compassion Captain lanyard. But beyond that, perhaps isn't home base, Philadelphia is, and you want to have one. You can go to Hidden Disabilities, and they've got some additional resources, and Ira, maybe you have some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, if you have any questions about the Sunflower lanyard or equivalents at other airports, feel free to reach out to me. That's actually a common question that I receive. So I interacted with other ADA coordinators and try to get up to speed on their setup. It's a very similar setup. There might be some nuances, like an online form, paper form. It's all the same concept, but if you need help, certainly feel free to reach out.
And some other airports also use like wristbands, brightly colored wristbands, so it really is unique to the airport on what they decide to use. Coming around.
Hi. Thank you. I've got a couple of questions. I'm in a situation where I have a care partner for my wife. My wife has dementia. The care partner actually is in a wheelchair and is mobility limited. Is it possible for me to be sort of their navigator past TSA, or is there no way to do that?
You should be able to get a gate check from your airline, so when you're checking your wife in, it's like
That's
a
what I'm
company
checking.
minor. It's just say, I am the caregiver and partner for these folks, I need to escort them and make sure that they get on the plane. And it's your airline should, by the right, you have the right to accompany them because you're accompanying an adult with a disability.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, sorry, we do encourage that, the family member goes, you just need to bring your license, and that's all you need. And just go up to the airline and let them know that you'd like to go through, assist that person.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Thank you. And then there's going to be a C-tax, so it may be different, but on the way back, can you take somebody to like an airline lounge rather than straight to the gate, or are you only able to take people from arrival to their gate?
I don't think that there's, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that that's a problem.
No, there's no rule. Once you get through security and once you're secured, when you're a caregiver and you get the pass from the airline and you have your ID and you go through security, you're good to go for us. You're just not allowed to board the aircraft, but you can take them to the restroom, you can take them over to the club, you can do whatever you need to do.
Well, I was thinking differently. When I'm not there on the other end, because I'm not traveling along,
Okay.
will the airline provide wheelchair assistance to go to their lounge rather than to their gate and let them wait in the lounge?
Yes, we will.
You will.
Yeah, we will take them over, I'm not sure what C-tax is working there, but we will take them, sometimes we'll drop them off and just give them our car is actually on the side of the wheelchair, and they can just call that, it goes right to our dispatcher, and they'll dispatch someone out over there.
I'm sorry to put 20 questions, I just have one more. We're trying to decide whether the mobility impaired caregiver, she's got a power wheelchair and a manual wheelchair, whether to try and bring both or going on a cruise, or whether to opt for one or the other, is how would we manage wheelchairs, two wheelchairs through the airport and an airline? Anybody have any ideas on that?
They usually check one of the wheelchairs, they can check
She could, for instance, could she check the power and then you could take her in your
yeah, we could take her in an airport wheelchair.
airport wheelchair?
Right, and then when she got to her final destination, the power wheelchair would be there.
Okay, thank you.
You definitely want to check with the airlines before you do that, because that's really the main spot that they'll give you the information you need and what you need.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely did it with that, and make sure that the power wheelchair is ready for storage. One of the common complaints airlines get is lost or damaged power scooters and power wheelchairs, so make sure to try to pack it as securely as possible as well.
This may have been mentioned, but with this lanyard, this is good at Phoenix Airport. Why wouldn't I just get a sunflower lanyard, which is also recognized at this airport? Am I correct on that?
So when we created the Compassion Cacti lanyard, not everybody was using the sunflower program. We have colleagues that work at other airports, and we're constantly talking about the resources that are available. And in the beginning, there were a number of airports that were deciding to do their own lanyard. The lanyards are actually sold by a third party, not an airport. And so Sky Harbor had opted to create our own back when we were developing. We're in the process of reviewing. We're always looking at, would we do away with the Compassion Cacti lanyard in the future, possibly, but we would still recognize it. So it's not going away. We may just evolve eventually into the sunflower lanyard.
Sunflower is 4 feet.
Sunflower is a third party. I don't want to speak to all of their details, but they're not an airport program. They sell to the airports and they provide to the airports.
So there's a fee involved.
Correct, but not to you. It would be to the airport that provides it.
So the airports that recognize the sunflower lanyard are responsible for distributing them free of charge to the customers they serve. So but you have the ability actually to go online and purchase one through a store that they have. But perhaps you're going to fly through some CTAP, I know has sunflower lanyard. Maybe when you go there, you just go to an information desk. I mean, there's still some logistics with this whole program with the distribution. So some airports have them at the information centers. Some people will fly through and go, what's a sunflower lanyard? Right, so that's why I say the more you can educate people too, if you're wearing the lanyard, whether it's Compassion Cacti or a sunflower, whatever that would be, just to recognize that bright green, right? This represents that I'm traveling with a person with a disability and I need more assistance or more time. That's really, really helpful.
Right. And there are a number of networks that talk about these types of things, the hidden disabilities, the lanyards, what works, what doesn't. One of the challenges is making sure that staff recognize the lanyards. So there's a big group that I know that Jan's part of that they're always looking at opportunities and ways. So if it's a lanyard now, it could be down the road, it could be something else. But again, Sky Harbor is sticking with the Compassion Cacti lanyard for now, so it will always work here at Sky Harbor, but we will recognize the sunflower.
So whether I walk in the door with one of these or a sunflower, you're going to give me the same treatment?
Correct. Yes. Okay, I'm making my way around the room here.
TSA, I wear a lifeline. When I take off and leave it at home.
Okay, now.
So what's the question? Just want to make sure.
He wears this device and he wants to know if he should wear it when he goes to the checkpoint or...
Sure.
Yeah.
You can wear it if you go through the checkpoint. Just let the officer know that you have it, and they'll help you get through, and what they do with it, they'll take care of you. Yeah, we see them all the time.
All right, this won't set anything off.
Well, I'm not saying it depends on what you go through. If you go through certain things, it might be noticed, but they'll tell you what to do. They'll help you out. Depending on what the screening equipment is, they'll let you know what's best.
Thank you. I have 2 questions for TSA.
Sure.
Traveling with medications, traveling for like a week, I put them all in a little dispenser daily. They're not in the bottles which they were prescribed. Is that permissible?
That's fine. You don't need them we don't need the medication in bottles or anything like that. You can do that. We have other ways of just testing. We're looking for explosives. We're not looking for any medications, so that's not our main goal. Once we find out that this is an explosive device or anything like that, or prohibited item, we're good to go with that. just let the officer know once again what you've done and what you're doing, and they'll be able to help you.
Second question, frozen water, is that permissible to take through?
As long as it's frozen.
So by the
If
time
you
I
freeze
get
it
there,
and it's
it's
coming to be turning into water, then it becomes not water, then it becomes not ice. You can bring frozen water through. Also, you can bring empty bottles. There's also water stations behind the checkpoint that are filtered water, which I fill my water up all the time on, that are excellent as well. So remember that. And if you have any special, like say you need more water than is necessary, or you need something, a liquid that's a little bit more necessary, 3.4 ounces, something like that, and you need it for health reasons, make sure the officer knows, because they have a way of treating that as a medication and also checking it. We have ways to check these things and get you on your way. Don't be afraid of that.
Last question, if I've arranged for a wheelchair to the airlines, do I still need to contact TSA? That phone number alert them when I travel?
No, you don't. TSA Cares is only necessary if you want someone to specifically, from TSA, walk you through the checkpoint, talk to the officers, maybe give that information that you have about the medication or whatever, and you want them to take care of that, that's a service that we provide. If you go through the airline, the folks with the wheelchairs and the folks with their service, they'll be able to help you as well. So once again, good planning and good questions like that will make all the difference in the world. Coming up last minute and not knowing what's going on and why they looking at my medication and I didn't tell them anything and I hid it in the bottom of the bag, and that's more difficult for an officer. But when you have the information out front and you have somebody speaking to you and clearly saying what's going on, they can handle anything.
My name's Andrea Nissen, and my husband has young onset Alzheimer's, so he's very young looking, and we actually just traveled. We went to Europe, and he is amazing. But as a care provider, we need breaks too sometimes, and I'm planning a trip for him to go visit his family in Oklahoma. So he is literally like traveling with a child. He just needs direction. I have done it in the past where I go to Southwest, get the pass to get him onto the flight, and they do always ask if you need assistance, but they say it's like for a wheelchair, and he doesn't need a wheelchair, which he would hate to have because he doesn't want that or thinks he needs it, but he could benefit from knowing, like on the airlines, this is what's going, because I'm not with him. It's just like he's traveling as a child, so I don't know how to differentiate or how to help him once he's on the flight, and usually the party in Oklahoma meets him, does the gate check, and meets him on the other side. I didn't know that there was a service that could provide him, but he will not get in a wheelchair, to outside of the gate. So that's my question. How can I get support around that?
So I have several thoughts. One, again, really important, work with your airline, let them know he's got, and I would say he's got young onset Alzheimer's disease, so he's gonna look normal, he's gonna sound normal. They're not experts, right, in dementia care, but it helps them to know. Again, you need a gate pass, and so does your arrival party. They need to be gate checking so they can pick him up, and that can happen through really good communication with your airline. And the other reason you want the airline to know, stuff happens mid-air all the time. There's weather, they can't land the plane, they have mechanical, even an unruly passenger, right? We see all kinds of reasons that planes land, and guess what? Sometimes they don't leave, right? The flight crew, they've now exceeded their hours, yada, yada. And so what happens to your husband if they don't know? Because he looks fine, right? So it's so important to be communicating and tracking. I would be tracking that flight the entire way because, again, you're right. He is not a child, but it is like sending an unaccompanied minor on a plane because he doesn't have the judgment and decision making. So we want to guarantee his safety and comfort. The other thing you can do is pay for companion. Have somebody travel with him. If that brings you great, yes, there's an expense for that, but there's an expense for your your worry as well. So there are companions that do that, or perhaps a good friend is willing to do it. So again, don't be afraid to ask people. The worst they say is no.
Well, we moved here specifically for the Phoenix airport. We love it. We've been there for 20 years. This was his second home, traveling wise, with his job. So he feels very comfortable in it, and he doesn't, think there's anything wrong. It's just that aspect when he's on the plane. He does list on Southwest. They have a thing where you can put, I think it's a cognitive disability, but like his main symptom is aphasia. So he just forgets words all the time, but he is very able to manage and do a lot of things. So I guess my question is, how do I get that to the flight attendants and everybody on there? Because I have gone up to the gate and I do say that to them, but I don't know what's happening beyond that.
Well, again, I would call the airline directly. It's really important you speak to a representative and you say, I want this to be on the flight manifest so that the crew is aware that my husband has aphasia, so he has difficulty with communication, so you're going to need more time with him. It's going to be really, again, at the gate, I would say to the gate agent, I want to ensure that it's been listed that my husband has this disability. I just want to make sure the flight crew understands. And, I really believe that airlines try to do their very best to take care of customers with disability. But we can't over-communicate is the reality, right? Because we're human and things happen in the course of our day-to-day. So you're really the glue and the linchpin in this.
And I have one thing to add. In my previous career, I was an airline pilot, so as a captain, we would have briefings. So Jan's idea about having a note card is great. We had, we'd have disabled passengers with all sorts of disabilities or unaccompanied minors or whatever the situation is. We'll actually brief that as a crew before you board. So if you give that card to, give to the gate agent and say, hey, can you get this to the flight crew, seat number, name, and then basically just look for and what can help. And then Jan actually did a radio show on Friday where she talked about this for an hour with, health tips and things like that for travel. So I can talk to you after if you're interested in that, but the note card idea is great because we will actually brief that, and then if there's any issue that comes up in flight, we'll already know, okay, this is somebody that needs consideration. And I've jump seating to work. I've been on Southwest, and I've seen captains actually will get a napkin usually from the flight attendants where they have 4 or 5 passengers listed with considerations like that, and then the captain keeps it right up there the whole flight.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Making my way around.
I don't know if I need the microphone. Who wears the lanyard? The person or the person that's with them?
The question is, who wears the lanyard? The person with the hidden disability wears the lanyard.
Who wears the green lanyard?
The person with the hidden disability.
That's both? Because you said they both wear it?
Yeah, both can wear it. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so the person with the disability has the lanyard on. Okay.
Correct.
Because that would be a good for her husband. They
Yeah.
recognize that, right?
It's a great suggestion, yes. We get a lot of people who, my mom's traveling in a couple months. Can I come pick up a lanyard for them? Yes, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this seminar. It's very informative. My name is Ramona Sanchez. I'm the part-time caregiver of my elderly mother. She's 94 years old. She's in a wheelchair, so I don't know if this is an issue. I hope to be taken on a trip to LA, but she does have her own wheelchair. But it's not only the part where we need someone or myself to take her up to the gate, but she also needs assistance in placement in putting her from the wheelchair onto the seat. Is that going to be an obstacle to her traveling? If so, how can we correct that or make that happen?
No, I think that when you make a reservation, just let them know that she's going to need that assistance, and they'll use an aisle chair, and they'll have 2 different people come up and assist her from her own wheelchair to an aisle chair and place her on the airplane.
And that's why I guess it's important that she have an aisle seat. Now, when they're
With a removable arm, So if you're doing the reservation, make sure if you're doing the seating, that you make sure she's seated in a place with a removable arm. So that means often the bulkhead does not have a removable arm. she can't go there. So that's the thing, that's the caveat with the aisle chairs, right? Is you've got to be in a seat with a removable, that the arm goes up so that they have the ability to move her into that
I
seat.
didn't think about that.
So that's the air, again, I can't stress enough to work with your airline. They can really be so helpful.
Yeah, I want to add to that. That's so important because when you get in that bulkhead seat, and a lot of people at the very front, right against that wall, those arms don't come up. But if you go the rest of the plane, the arms pretty much go up. You just flick a thing and the arm goes up, and then they can move your person from the little aisle chair and they slide right into the seat very easily. So just try to stay away from that very front row if you have somebody in a wheelchair that needs to be moved from an aisle chair.
Should I inform the airline or the personnel at the airport?
Well, the airline, hopefully you're booking your, again, depending on the airline, if you're booking your seat, you're able to book your seat, then they'll know what seat not to put you in if you need the removable arm. Again, if you're flying low-cost carrier, so Southwest is right, a wonderful carrier here. You're going to do early boarding, and the gate agents will also know because you're going to probably gate check her wheelchair, and then they'll put her in the aisle chair to bring her in, and they'll know where they can seat her.
Because we would need to book her wheelchair, not book it, but we would have to check in a wheelchair, correct?
Well, you probably gate check it, is what I would recommend, is that she'll use her own wheelchair and you'll gate check it.
Yeah, when you check in at the ticket counter or the SkyTab booth, let them know the need, and then we'll take them in their own wheelchair. So we'll transfer them to an airport wheelchair.
Thank you very much.
This question is for Jan. When you're traveling with a person that's very anxious about time, how much time should you allow for early travel to the airport without being so overboard that that person's going to be so antsy at that point?
So I still use the 2 hours rule, that give yourself 2 hours. Again, you never know what traffic's going to be like. I'll tell you what, early in the morning when I come in on Wednesdays as a navigator, they're lined up for Terminal 4, way back, a half a mile. I sometimes wait 10, 15 minutes. That's going to add to anxiety for the person with dementia, right, who can't manage time. And then I would speak in very generalities, just say, hey, we're doing great, we got lots of time. So I would not give them specifics around time because that's going to amp them up because remember, they can't manage that, it's too abstract. So as you stay cool and say, I'm so glad we got here early, hey, we got time to go get a cup of coffee, why don't we maybe talk to that person in the purple coat? Again, the navigators are fabulous. And they can suggest maybe where we can get some coffee or go sit in a quiet place. And you be in control of the conversation. Hey, we're doing great on time. Our plane's running on time. If they ask, well, when is it leaving? Soon, we'll make sure we're there. Right? So just give them that sense of confidence. I got this. We're under control. And that's going to help really minimize the anxiety around time.
Should you try to get them through TSA as soon as possible when you get there, and then be in the back area rather than trying to get through to TSA?
Well, this is where the website is great because you can be watching what are the wait times and know that you can go through any checkpoint ultimately to get where you need. To be honest with you, pre-security, there's a lot more quiet areas than post-security. In Terminal 4, just let's be honest, it is a really, I love Terminal 3, but that's like I wish we could redo 4 and make it like 3, but 4 is busy, busy, busy. So it's going to be harder sometimes to find a quiet spot. So you're going to have to gauge, how is he doing? Is he feeling kind of anxious? And if he is, and let's say you've got an hour and a half before the flight, you've checked your bags, etc., you don't need a wheelchair, you're going to be walking through security, whatever, then sitting pre-security in some of the quiet spaces is really nice, and you can watch people go by, so you're going to have to gauge his mood and how he's doing. But I think your reassurance, we're good, we're doing great on time, this is so exciting, I'm so glad we can make this trip together. We'll keep him pleasantly distracted. Let me also make a comment about medications. I'm not here to talk about drugs, but a lot of people use them during travel, right? Lots of kinds of travelers do. Do not use any kind of sedating drug for the first time that you are traveling. You're going to want to make sure before you travel that that sedating medication actually calms them down, not amps them up, as we can have opposite effects with some of the medication that gets prescribed. So it's really important if you are using medication, so Ativan is commonly prescribed for folks who get anxious, and I know a number of caregivers who will use it during travel because of that. It's really important to try it out at home before the first time you get to an airport and pop the pill. I don't recommend that. Likewise, the other thing we often don't think about is pain. Sitting on planes is not comfortable, and I can tell you I'm developing my own pain issues as I age, but I know how to medicate. I know when to take Tylenol or whatever, Motrin, whatever that might be. So if you anticipate your person is traveling and likely to have pain, make sure you're medicating for that. Bring some Tylenol, Motrin along, and don't wait until they're miserable, because now you've missed the point. Okay, don't need to talk about drugs, but drugs do come into play sometimes.
Yeah, I have one more comment when it's how early you get to the airport. We talked about the site, you can go to the Sky Harbor website and see the wait times. The time to do that is, say next Wednesday, I'm flying out at 3:30 in the afternoon. I would be looking this week about the time I would think to go through the airport next Wednesday and see how Wednesdays look about that time. If I see a Wednesday next week and this week as being a 7 to 10 minute wait time or 5 minute wait time, I can start to gauge, generally speaking, on what a good time to get to the airport is. 2 hours is always best, but once again, if it eases your mind and eases the person's mind that you're helping, it sure helps the plan. I'm going to Seattle in 2 weeks. I'm checking the websites in Seattle to see the wait times for TSA for when I come back. So I'm going to start looking at that because I know the day I'm coming back, day of the week. Usually airlines schedule certain days, certain flights, certain amounts. And once you have that clear in your mind, you go, well, it's been 47-minute wait time in Seattle, but it's only a 5-minute wait time here. It changes how you're going to operate that day, when you're going to get to the airport and all that. Also, the site shows which checkpoint, say at Terminal 4, is the slowest. You can get to any area of Terminal 4 if you want to walk a little bit on moving sidewalks that they have there, and you want to get through a little bit quicker, go to this slow checkpoint, take your time, take some of that anxiety out of you. If you're going through any airline at Terminal 4, you can take any checkpoint. We don't care what TSA, you can go through those checkpoints. So just remember that. Sometimes we go to the airport and there's a long way to terminal at the A checkpoint. And the D checkpoint, which goes to the exact same areas, has no wait. That's just the way it's set up. That's just the way the airlines are printing their passes. They're doing the best they can. But people that know, they're going to go through the D checkpoint or go through the B checkpoint and get right where they need to go with no wait. So just remember that. And you'll even see in the airport, they have wait times listed up. So you might see a group of people here and no one else is at any other checkpoint. Don't be afraid to go through the others. Yes?
You might also want to remember that PHX Reserve basically runs you to the head of the line. If you don't have the TSA pre-check, you book a time. You will go through the D checkpoint in about 3 to 5 minutes, guaranteed. And that's a free service that you can book days in advance.
What service is that?
It's called PHX Reserve. You'll find it right on the front page of the website.
Yeah, good point. And we really appreciate that service as well because it gets folks that are especially needy to get up to the front. And we've got to do all the same screening that we do otherwise, but it gets you to the front of the line and basically tells the airline and the airport that you're here, you're ready for your screening.
I was just going to say, my husband has Alzheimer's and he gets very anxious about being there on time. So what works, we come the night before, take the shuttle down from Sedona, have dinner either in the room or go out, and then just getting the bags on the airport shuttle. And he's really, really fine with that. Otherwise, he's just a mess. So
those time relationships, and hey, listen, you know, these are adults who've traveled, right? These are not like our kids with autism who've never had that experience, right? So it's a very different need that these folks have. We are very drilled into about time, and time relationships are lost early. And so one thing is we have to think about, when do we let them know we're even taking this trip? Right, so as fun as it might be for us, it's going to amp them up from an anxiety perspective. When are we going? Who are we going? Because they don't want to be late. They don't want to miss out. So again, depending on where the person is early on, most people will do okay with those reminders. But as the disease progresses, this is where the generalities, and you know, let's just get a hotel room by the airport the night before. We're going to sleep better, right? And we want to consider all of those things. So again, decide how much information. Too much information can be a bad thing for people who are living with dementia, right? The complexity of managing it is going to just make them nervous. So you being in control, letting them know, hey, we're good, we're on time, isn't this great, we're going to have fun, without giving specifics, really is going to help bring the anxiety level down a notch. Because let's face it, every passenger I see that's waiting for a plane looks a little on edge. This is a universal, all ages. So, you know, the Alzheimer's just adds to it.
My biggest concern is my wife is traveling at the end of the month by herself. As far as her dementia needs, you know, she's in good shape, let's put it that way. My plan is to basically get a gate pass, get through all the checkpoints, take her to the gate and wait for the gate to open up, and she would go on early. And I think my concern is, once I say, see her, is there someone there that can show her to a seat, make sure that a seat belt is put on, and basically talk to her, because it's a long flight. This is going to go to the East Coast with no stops, thank goodness. And I'm hoping that the flight attendants would be aware of her need to, you know, stop, make sure she's doing fine, if she has C-SPAN and so on and so forth. And that's my biggest concern, is after I say, why, you know, if she will be taken care of, hopefully. I guess that's what I should do. So.
Again, it's a communication. You can go to the gate and let the gate agent know what the need is for your wife. Let them know, so again, they can talk to the flight crew.
Yeah. So I would just make sure that that's the gate agent, and then from there on, the gate agent will notify the flight attendants, or is that how that works?
Right. But again, communicating with the airline to begin with, so it's in their record.
Okay.
So we know.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, because remember, again, those flight disruptions, I have horror stories, because I've worked with so many clients over the years. Things happen en route sometimes, so we also want, if her flight is interrupted for some reason, you know, that is under no one's control, and she lands someplace, the flight crew also need to know she cannot deplane and be left alone. Because she's going to look, remember, she looks normal. She sounds normal, but her reasoning, she's not going to say, oh, I was flying to Newark, and how am I going to get there now? She's not going to, you know, go to talk to the Delta agent who's going to help her with rebooking, right? Because she doesn't have that complexity of knowledge, if you will, at this point, right? So again, I cannot communicate that communication is key with the airlines, the gate agent, and when in doubt, get somebody to fly with them.
Yeah, just make sure when you talk to the gate agent, you clearly say what's going on, and even ask them to step aside a second. Because many times they're very, very busy, and they kind of like, okay, we've all seen it, just saying. But I've been flight crew for a long time, and if you communicate it clearly to the agent and say, please let the flight attendant know this is exactly what's needed, I'm really worried, can you help me? That goes a long way. Because their sense of compassion will come in, and then they'll communicate with the flight crew, and the flight crew can help them, and then know, they actually know. When that flight crew knows, work with many of them, they want help, and they have an understanding. It's when they don't know, and there's no communication, and somebody's just dropped off, where it becomes an issue. So just for your own sake, don't be afraid to insert yourself in a nice way and make sure that they completely understand it. And I keep you up. Thank you.
I was just going to add a couple of comments with regards to airlines. Keep in mind that some of the low-cost carriers, the people who check you in at the gate are actually the people who are flying with you as well. So if you give that information to them, they may be the ones also flying with you. In addition to that, we have, it just escaped me, but the airlines are not always staffed at the ticket counters. So if you arrive extremely early, there may not be anybody there at the ticket counter to help you yet. And this happens quite often when people are traveling internationally, like British Airways or Condor. They're only at their their ticket counters 2 to 3 hours in advance of their flight. So if you're thinking, I'm gonna get there super early, don't get there any earlier than that because they will not be there to help you. So, did you have a question?
Okay, my husband likes to be in charge of what's going on when he travels. The CPAP machine, the tablet, the belt, that's most frustrating for me because you get to the end of the line, he's had it all out, he's all stressed out, do I have it, do I have it? Is there a simpler way to get through TSA without having to undo all those things? And I don't want to put the CPAP and the tablet in his check bag.
Unfortunately, you have to take the things out when it becomes large electronic devices like that. You have to see them. Now, with some of our new technology that's coming in, or we call it our CT X-rays, those items are going to be allowed to stay in your bag. We do have some CT X-rays at Sky Harbor Airport in each checkpoint, but there's not many of them. You could ask for which is the CT X-ray if you want, and then go to that one if you want to do it that way. But most of the time, it's just you have to take the things out right now because they have to have a clear view of them, and take your time putting them away. Or if you need a passenger service support specialist, they can help you as well if this becomes overly burdensome. Because you can imagine what we get through a checkpoint every day, and we get some strange things, and strange electronic devices, and test devices, and they have to get a good look at it. They just can't assume that this is what it is and what's going on. Because ultimately, it's the safety and security. So I wish there was an easier way, but maybe in the future there will be.
And then take control of the situation, right? You're the one in charge, even though he is, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to acknowledge, thank you, honey. I really love how you help us to travel, right? So respectfully, this is so helpful to me. And thank you for waiting for me, because I tend to be forgetful when I go through the security. I want to make sure that I have collected all my things. So again, you control the conversation, acknowledge he's in charge, but you are, you know that, right? But now you feel better, you've communicated to him, wait for me, and he will wait for you. Okay, so again, your communication, your demeanor is key in keeping him in control.
Yeah, and just be sure that you do take your time to get all your items, and don't feel rushed. Because people are pushing up behind you. I know it happens all the time. Don't feel rushed. If you have to ask an officer, do I have everything? Is there anything back there that you see? They'll be happy to do it, because for some reason, I don't know what it is about TSA officers, they love to hunt for things. You drop something on the ground, they'll all crawl around on the ground for 20 minutes looking for it. It's something, I guess, to get away from the job or whatever, but they're happy to find things, but they'll help you.
You may have answered this question. As far as getting my wife to TSA, beyond that, if I'm not ticketed, there's no way in reasons I'm going to give to a company or to the gate.
Yeah, you can do that. What you do is you go to the airline with your ID, and you tell them that she needs assistance and you want to assist her to the gate. They'll give you a gate pass that will go through the checkpoint, just like you're flying. You'll get checked out, and then you can walk her through to the gate. And then get her right to where she needs to go. talk to whoever you need to talk to, say sayonara, and go your way out.
On the other end also?
Yeah.
So my son or whoever could meet her at the gate?
Yep, just communicate with the airline what's needed, and they'll be happy to accommodate. But once again, make sure when you tell somebody that's going to pick somebody up, they're going through security. So leave the pepper spray at home, don't have it on the keychain, make sure you know you're going through security, and they're going to check you, so you don't want to get into any issues like
Let the chat group. We have to take medication unless we got cold, and there's a bunch of needles. Should we put that in like a check bag so that, or do we take it through? I don't know. How? What's easiest?
You can take medication through. You can have ice, you can have an ice pack if you want to take the medication through, and they'll check on the medication.
Okay.
I always don't know. It depends on, when you say check baggage, then this medication just, you can leave it at your site or leave it at, you just expect it to be there. Most people want to travel with their medication. So
Don't ever leave your meds in a check. Do not put your meds in the belly of a plane. Do not do that. Keep your medications on you at all times. Bags get lost for all kinds of reasons. If you need your medications, you need to carry them with you. Absolutely. If you've got syringes, you just let them know. A lot of people take injectables, so it doesn't mean you're shooting something.
Yeah, also, one other thing is that in some cities, we probably don't know them, they're very warm during the summer. So you don't want to get outside. I know we don't know that, but some places are.
Thank you.
My husband has early Alzheimer's, and we usually get a rental car when we get at our arrival. And he used to do that, but now I'll have to do it. So where I have him secure while I'm getting the rental car?
Well, he needs to be with you, so he cannot be left unattended. So, would he agree to a wheelchair? And could the escort stay with him while you're in line at the rental car location? Could you work and find a rental car location that brings the car to you? I mean, this is where you're going to want to think. If you're arriving at a place where there's family and friends, perhaps they pick you up when you arrive, and the next day you plan to get the rental car because now he's attended to. So you're going to want to think a little more out of the box than traditionally. Most of us will just get all that done and then go see family. Now things have changed. We need to save his energy and reserve his fatigue level as such that it's good for both of you. So I would think about alternatives to that.
Thank you. I think we have time for one last question.
It's a quick one. I just wanted to check, can you have somebody meet at the other end, for instance, with your wife that you're saying goodbye and they're off, have somebody meet and take them out of, to the baggage area, or to, as soon as they get out of the check, security area, where friends can meet on the other side? Like, instead of getting the pass and coming to the gate, is that something, and can it not be in a wheelchair?
Yeah, exactly. So if you just let the airline know the request, we have someone that meets every airline that comes in, and if there's anybody who needs assistance, if we saw something with a lanyard, of course we ask them and take them down to baggage claim.
In addition, our navigator support guides will do that. So if you apply for a navigator support guide when you're flying in, they will be waiting at the gate for them, and then they will get them off the plane and escort them out to you.
So I want to make sure I understand. So you're getting off the plane, you're coming down out towards baggage claim, the exit lane, or you're just wanting to meet them after they come out of the security area?
So I typically have them come to the gate,
Okay,
doing the pass and doing it, but it's kind of a big job. They have to go through security. Right. So I was wondering if you could have somebody just walking him instead of following, the baggage claim signs, and then you get through the security place, and then right outside it, not necessarily at baggage claim.
Right,
but
right
just
outside
where
a secure area.
Right outside the TSA.
Yeah, that would be something that a navigator could help with. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a navigator support guide, so if you go online and ask for one, we can coordinate that, yes.
And many other airports have similar things. I'm not going to answer for other airports, but the best is communication that way.
I was just gonna add.
Yes, and I think also just to point out that wheelchair passenger assistance also does that, right? Okay, well, first off, I want to say thank you so much and congratulations. You are a part of our first ever, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this type of workshop has never been offered at another airport. So we're the very first ones to be doing this. We're super excited to be a dementia-friendly airport and to be America's friendliest airport. Actually, we'll be sending out a short survey following this workshop, and we will send out all of the resources that were listed on the slide, all the phone numbers, links, things like that. You can communicate with us through email. There's lots of phone numbers. You can call us. We're here to help. Now, if you signed up for the tour, I'm going to ask that you remain here. There are restrooms. If you need, the tour will leave in about 10 minutes. If you didn't sign up for the tour but you'd still like to join us, I'm sure we can make some room. Restrooms are right outside these double doors, and make a quick left and then a sharp right. Come back here. We're going to leave in about 10 minutes. You need to take everything with you, but I kindly ask that you take a bottle of water with you, maybe some cookies to go. The TSA Cares flyer is on the back table. Well, you're welcome to it. Also, our dementia friends from Banner Health have a table in the back. So if you'd like to learn more about them, you can visit back there. We'll be around for questions. Thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists today.